I'm Julie Zenner along with Dennis Anderson, and here's what's coming up on Almanac North.
Well, Hermantown residents are being asked to extend the city's 1% sales tax to help pay for a regional wellness center.
October is all about Shakespeare at UMD with the Bard's first folio, the centerpiece of the month's events.
And Minnesota's tallest bridge is rising above an abandoned Iron Range mine pit. We will update you on the Highway 53 relocation project.
These stories and more are coming up on Almanac North. Hello and welcome to Almanac North. Thanks for watching. Denny, a good mix of topics on tonight's program.
We're going to be from everywhere from Duluth to the Iron Range to Hermantown, so we're going to be bouncing around a little bit tonight.
Covering a lot of ground, and it's time to introduce our first guest.
All right, very fine. Thank you very much, Julie, and welcome everyone. Voters in the city of Hermantown will have a referendum item on their ballot come November. Citizens will be asked to affirm a measure that would extend the city's 1% sales tax to help pay for a regional wellness center. The center would be operated by Essentia Health and located at the site of Hermantown's recently vacated middle school. Joining us now with more is Mike Lundstrom. He is chair of the Vote Yes for a Healthy Hermantown Citizens Group, and John Mulder is Hermantown's city administrator. Thank you both for being here. And Mike, is this vote going to raise taxes in Hermantown?
No, it's not, and that's one of our missions, is to get out into public to explain to people that we are able to finance through Hermantown for this project without a tax increase.
John, talk about the Wellness Center project itself and why this is a good thing for the Hermantown area in your mind.
Hermantown has talked a long time about a gathering place, and also as we've looked at the health outcomes in St. Louis County, about how we can address and improve health in southern St. Louis County. So it just seems like it's a great opportunity for the region, and given where it's located, it would just be a great place for a lot of access for the residents in southern St. Louis County.
Mike, what is a wellness center? What's going to take place there?
It's a good question because our operating entity is going to be the YMCA, and unlike the introduction, Essentia Health will be a tenant, but they won't be operating it. So we will have YMCA for exercise and all the classes and so forth they do, the daycare center they have. But we also will have almost half of the space will be devoted to public use, which will be through educational purposes, nutrition classes. That's where Essentia Health will play a role to be able to extend to the public services that will help the overall health of our community.
And how is the funding of this all coming together?
I'll let John take care of that one.
Well, it's about a $17 million project, and we had asked for an $8 million grant through the state bonding bill.
That didn't come.
Well, interesting, it was in the House bill that was passed, it was in the Senate bill that passed, but they disagreed about one other item, and then they didn't get the work done. So we've asked for that. It was in both bonding bills. We still hope that would happen. So $8 million from the state. Essentia has contributed $2 million as part of its naming rights program and their partnership. The Y is committed through the community to raise $2.5 million.
Plus the county?
And then we've talked about $4.5 million between the city and the county. And we've talked about doing that without putting that on the property taxes. So we've come up with different scenarios, and one of those scenarios is the use of sales tax.
If this passes and you begin construction when? In the spring?
Well, it would kind of probably be likely in the fall of next year, or maybe even the spring following. Because a big part of that is still waiting on the legislature.
I see.
And we also need to go through some more planning process too, as well as bidding out and so forth. Take some time.
Specifically talk about the referendum and what people are really being asked to consider in the community of Hermantown.
Yes, as John mentioned, when we went out to get input from the public about this project, The one thing we heard over and over is that don't put it on our property taxes. The public did not want that, nor did the business community. So the city of Hermantown in particular put their heads together and they came up with a plan to be able to use part of our sales tax that we currently already have in place for this project. So the important message for us is that it's not increasing in any way, it's just expanding how we're using it to this project.
And also extending the length of it, I understand.
It will be
too.
extended 10 years to 2036 because of, for bonding purposes, yes.
So if the state money does not come through, and I know that you're hoping that it does either in the next legislative session or a special session or the next bonding session, what happens then? Is there a plan B in terms of getting the bulk of that money together to really make this come to fruition? Or is it possible that it would fall apart and then this taxing is still available to you?
Well, I think there's two parts of that. One is if we don't get $8 million from the state, then we need to look at how the scope and the size of it a little bit. We may have to look at that plan a little bit. But otherwise, we look at our projections on the sales tax as well. I mean, part of the sales tax issue is it was in the tax bill, but the tax bill wasn't approved. And in the tax bill, it also said that the city residents had to approve the vote. So now if the citizens approve the vote on November 8th, we still need to have the legislature pass the tax bill and the governor sign it.
John, what kind of an economic impact could a wellness center have on Hermantown?
Well, we think it's just going to be a great attraction for people to come in and not only use that facility, but then also use some of the other retail and other outlets that are located in Hermantown and the surrounding areas.
Now, the proposed site is the old Hermantown Middle School.
Correct.
What makes that a good site for this?
We did a study and looked at a number of different sites in the area, and part of the reason why it's in Hermantown is it's at the end of the trunk line for our sewer system. Because it's for South St. Louis County as well, we needed to have that infrastructure for the water and sewer. The other thing that was, two things that were a great benefit. The site itself is already shovel ready. I mean, it's a flat site, it's been cleared. And the third part is we can reutilize parts of the middle school building, the gymnasium and a wing of the middle school that was built in 1992. Those factors actually save us about $2.5 million in the project.
So a part of it will be raised and some will be retained. The part that will be retained, what kind of shape is that in?
The part that's retained is in good shape. The gymnasium, we are going to take the shell of the gym. We're not taking the locker rooms, which is where we had some real serious problems with moisture.
Sure.
That's gone. Everything around the gym is going to be gone, but the shell is going to stay. The flooring was just recently redone, so it's in quite good shape. And of course, that classroom wing is going to be utilized by Essentia Health and daycare centers.
And I understand that the city has placed a deadline on when that demolition should take place. Is that contributing to urgency in the project?
Well, and initially, when the school district was making their plans for a new facility, we did not want to have, and the school district did not want to have a vacant school sitting there for a long time. And so we kind of said that, a year after you've left, we really think it needs to come down. But the city and the school district are not going to hold fast to that rule if we're making good progress toward that. So we're going to work with the school district for this project to come forward. I mean, the school district is such a big partner in this as well, and it being close to their campus, it's just going to be a tremendous opportunity for them as well.
There are clinics and workout centers throughout the region. Have you done a survey as to how popular a wellness center would be?
It's interesting because the idea of having, first of all, a community gathering point goes back in Hermantown to the 1970s. 1980 was the #1 priority. In our studies in the very beginning, we found that St. Louis County is ranked 76 out of 87 counties in Minnesota for health outcomes. And we know that's not acceptable. We believe this is going to be a major step forward that'll have a real and lasting, make a real lasting difference for the health of our region. And obviously, Essentia agrees with that philosophy.
When
A second part of that, though, was also the Y did a demographic study in terms of what kind of population base would they be able to attract? How would that impact the downtown operation? And they're absolutely convinced that the surrounding area and some from downtown is they're going to be able to operate that Y without any kind of subsidy. So I mean, there's a need out there, there's a market out there. So we've done kind of some of that market study as well.
When you talk about health outcomes, what are some examples of that from St. Louis County?
Well, statistically, what has come through is that obesity, heart disease, tobacco usage, mental health issues. There's a series of categories like that that has resulted in a shorter lifespan for St. Louis County residents as compared to the rest of Minnesota.
So would Essentia then be offering programming for this type of condition or outcomes to try to alleviate that?
That is correct. One of the determinations we have come to is that accessibility to those support systems is part of the problem. People don't necessarily want to go downtown or to the St. Luke's or Essentia area, but having it closer to the base population, people will be able to access it and take advantage of it.
And just to make it clear, you are not looking to increase the 1% sales tax.
That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah, we currently have 1%, and that 1% only can be used for certain things. And that's decided by the legislature. And so this would allow us to use that same revenue, that current stream, for another purpose. And with new retail opportunities in Hermantown that has caught a lot of the news lately, we think that sales tax will continue to grow, and the city is continuing to try to, be good stewards of the money. We're going to refinance some debt that sales tax is paying for now on Monday, and we expect to save almost $1 million in interest charge.
All right, we've got to run. Thank you very much, John, Mike. Appreciate you being here telling your story.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.